Your skin crawls. You can't stand the thought of one more snuggle or cuddle. The thought of intimacy with your partner? Forget about it. It's the furthest thing from your mind. You just want a few minutes or hours or days to feel like your body is your own. But when you're a breastfeeding mother and a wife, it's never your own. If you've ever felt this way, then this episode of the podcast is definitely for you, sis. Hey y'all, welcome and welcome back. I'm glad that you chose to spend a few moments with me today. Today's episode is all about feeling touched out, what it is, how to avoid it, and how to overcome it. This is the 4th episode of the Mommma podcast, name pending. As I was scripting the talking points for this week's podcast, I was trying to formulate the perfect description of this very real feeling for someone who has never experienced it. After a simple Google search, the introduction to Yael Bremer's article from Le Leche League USA 2016 summed up my feelings to a T. So what exactly is feeling touched out? Well, every woman or every mom's definition is different, but to put it simply, I'd say it's an indefinite moment in time when you are repulsed by physical touch. Do y'all remember that science experiment in elementary school that involved the penny, the eyedropper, the water, and you had to count how many drops of water could fit on the penny before the water overflowed? Well, feeling touched out is kind of like that. In the beginning, you can add lots of water to the penny and quickly, but at some point, you become more cautious, and as you continue to add more water, you know that the penny will only be able to hold so much more before the penny just can't bear it any longer. But before I get into the thick of feeling touched out, I want to share with you that getting to that point was gradual, at least for me. Similarly to how I operate in most areas of my life, I just let things build up and simmer until I can no longer stand it. Really mature, I know. Insert sarcasm here. But it's what I've always done, so why change now? Insert more sarcasm here. But baby, let me tell you, when it gets to its peak, and that's another thing. When I'm feeling touched out, it's not a constant GTF away from me 24/7 kind of feeling. No. But the frequency in which I feel like that increases. Under normal circumstances, I can go days or weeks even without needing a break. However, when I'm feeling touched out, I usually need a break, both mental and physical, every hour or so. And the sheer thought of anything touching me drives me insane. During this time, I usually don't even want to hug my husband or wear snug-fitting clothes or even take a shower. I simply don't want to be touched by anything, ever. This usually lasts for a week or so, and then I'm back to quote-unquote normal. So what leads to me feeling touched out? Usually when Poppy is nursing more often for whatever reason. Either he's cluster feeding, which doesn't happen too often, due to a growth spurt, or just wanting the comfort, or if his sleeping schedule has been disrupted. When I originally wrote the script for this podcast, I was in the thick of feeling touched out. That feeling has since passed, but I'm glad I wrote what I did when I did, and I want to share some of that with you now. Nursing is becoming super exhausting because Poppy is experiencing in full force some serious 8-9 month sleep regression. This is still hella true, but it's getting better. And I'm usually the only one that can put him to sleep, but he doesn't stay asleep. Again, hella true, but getting hella better. Last week, he woke up an average of 7 times per night. Poppy goes to bed at his usual bedtime of 10:30 p.m., but then he woke up at 11:30 p.m., 12:45 a.m., 2:30 a.m., 4:38, 5:30, 7, and again at 9:30. And if you know babies like I know babies, once they're up, they're up. And it's like they had the most restful night's sleep. Meanwhile, you're a damn zombie. Y'all, that week had me feeling like I was literally going insane with no positive outlets. I had contemplated hiring a nanny. I also thought about going back to the classroom, but in no way is my child going to daycare. No shade. Daycare is just not a good fit for our family at this time. I even thought about packing up, dropping off my son at my parents', and living on the road for a few months. Y'all, I had a bag packed and everything. In that moment, I had to do some real soul searching, have a conversation with my husband. See, I can be mature at times, and devise a plan, not only for my health, but for the health of my family and marriage as well. In hindsight, I feel kind of embarrassed for being the hag that I was during that time of feeling touched out. But on the other hand, I'm glad I experienced it because I can help others that feel or have felt the same way. It was also extremely helpful because it forced my husband and I to have some very real conversations and settle into some great compromises. It really just came down to my husband entertaining Poppy more often while I do everything or nothing at all. When I'm home during the day and I need a break, I put Poppy in his crib or his pack and play with hella toys, shut the door behind me, and then go downstairs to watch Hulu, Netflix, or listen to my audiobook. If he starts crying before the end of my chapter or show, well, crying makes for strong lungs, am I right? I'm kidding. Kind of. I may let him try to soothe himself, but let's be real. If Poppy hasn't calmed himself down within 2 to 3 minutes, then I'm definitely back upstairs and in mommy mode. I don't believe in the cry it out method. It's not healthy for a child at this age, nor is it possible to spoil an infant. That's my truth, and I'm walking in it. That went a little bit left, but I also think that's a good pausing point for this episode. So although a lot of work must be done when you're feeling touched out, it's kind of simple. It's identifying what triggers you and what makes you become touched out and figuring out how to overcome it. As always, I want to thank you for rocking with me on this 4th episode. Can y'all believe it? We're 4 episodes in. Are y'all enjoying this? Because I know I am. If y'all are, subscribe to this podcast and find me on my other platforms to let me know. On Facebook and Instagram, I'm JMomma, JaeMomma, and my blog/website is jmomma.wordpress.com. You can also find me on YouTube as Jasmine Flower Vlog. Subscribe to me there as well. And if you feel so moved to make a financial blessing, I accept payments via Cash App. I'm JMomma on there as well. I can't wait to spend more time with you on the next episode of the JMomma podcast. Name pending.